Unboxed podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Randolph, and it is a pleasure to hang out with you tonight. Or today, or whenever you're re listening to this, thank you for taking the time to be a part of this community, your family here. Today on the episode, we're talking about unboxing leadership, faith, and family struggles. We all can resonate with being a leader, walking by faith, and dealing with family struggles. So that's what we're talking about today. I can't wait to get into it with you. Let's go. So you will usually see me flanked by a guest or my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wife, Lori Randolph. She is down under the weather, whatever you want to call it, but she will not be on tonight. So go ahead and put some hearts in the comments for her, or when you're rewatching this, just go ahead and send her a note. She'll definitely appreciate that. Shout out to everybody that's taking the time to watch this live. We do this live. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Play or Google Podcast, you're getting to join in with the community here. So first, let's go ahead and get into what it looks like to embrace failures in life and leadership. Tell me about this. Comment down below or tell me about the failure that you remember the most. Let's start right there. Tell me about the failure that you remember the most and tell me why it sticks with you. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I remember thinking as a young married, 2 years into married, if that, 2 years into marriage, if that, my wife and I were helping running a soccer business that I'd started, and we were in a brand new city trying to build it up. And can you believe, in my smart second year marriage mind, I thought it was cool to use personal money to start our own, to help push our business forward. I'm going to give you a free word of advice. Don't do that. Okay? So I did that. And I thought that eventually that the business would take off and we would be helping people go play soccer professionally and in college year after year. And let me tell you, that didn't happen. And there was no ROI on the money that I put in. In fact, it helped those people, but we never actually got to see the financial, blowback from that experience. And as a second year person in marriage, that's a hard conversation to have. Go ahead and comment down below and tell me what your response would be if your significant other used money into the business and it didn't get a return on it. Talk about that conversation. If you hear someone coughing in the back, it's my beautiful wife. So the reality is that failure impacted my personal growth. How has the failure in your life impacted your growth? Let's unbox that. Tell me how it's impacted your growth. How it's impacted what you think about yourself. So that failure made me feel like I was no good. It was never, my visions weren't good. My dreams weren't going to happen because I thought that one failure was my destination or my destiny. Have you ever felt like that failure was going to be your destiny? I thought that. And as a leader in my family and as a leader in my own personal life, if you stay in failure, yeah, you will stop growing. But if you use the failure, you will continue to grow. And it's a simple concept, but it's so true. The more you continue to go, even when you fail, because failure is a one-time event. It may happen over and over, but it's a moment. And you get up from failure if you choose to. If you choose to get up from failure, you will realize that that failure has taught you something. What did that failure teach you? How did you grow from that failure? Let me know that down below. Thanks to everybody else who's already commenting. I can see people coming through. Appreciate you guys. The Unboxed community is amazing. Tell me in the chat, what did that failure or failures teach you about you? Because if you learn from the failures, there's a greater opportunity for the future. If you learn from the failures, there's a great opportunity for the future. And as a leader, you can resonate better with your people when they know that you can deal with failure. Perfect people are hard to follow. Put some thumbs up emojis down below if you know that. Perfect people are hard to follow because how can they resonate with you? So, learning from failure is crucial to your personal and professional development because how you learn from failure is going to determine how high you can go in whatever you're doing right now. Because we fail at least once. I know some people are very, 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 very skilled, so they may not fail ever. But you fail at least once a day. I know somebody's like, not me, Anthony. You don't know me. We fail at least once a day. And you learn from it. I heard one of my coaches was like, hey, we didn't lose. We learned. And I used to think that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We lost. He was like, no, we learned. I just wanted to slap him. I'm like, no, we lost by 10. To a younger team. Like we failed today. So the more you embrace life and leadership, because you're a leader in some form or facet in your life. Tell me an area in which you are a leader now in your life. What area of your life do you see yourself as a leader? Your marriage, your friendships, your job, maybe you're a manager or you're a CEO, your team. Where are you a leader? Tell me that down below. So we learn from failure. What we learn from failure is going to be critical. So what you're learning right now, if you just had a recent failure, it's going to teach you something if you allow it to do that. So I want to quickly tell you a way that you can learn from failure because it's failure that I personally experienced and I was able to put into a book, and it's called Successful, and it's finding purpose right here. It's finding purpose in success. This is a book that I personally wrote. It's a short read because I know we're all busy and we have things going on, and you may not have time to sit down and digest a 500-page book on what it looks like to be successful. This is a perspective that I want to give you on how to find your purpose, not someone else's, your purpose in success. And it's going to help you ask the right questions so that you find success in your purpose. So let's get back into it. Let's talk about balancing family dynamics in challenges. How do you even do that? How do you balance family dynamics in challenges? That's something I want to hear from you guys. You guys tell me down below in the comments, how are you balancing the family challenges and dynamics? I want to talk to you about a couple key strategies that I believe are really going to help you balance those. And if you have some things that you think also are going to help the community, go ahead and put those down in the comments below. Some strategies for managing like family relationships during rough times. I'm going to give you a couple things. One is know who you are. What I mean by that is know your values. Know what's important to you. Here's why. Okay, let's give you a life situation. Let's say you and such and such family member aren't seeing eye to eye. You've had a bad blow up or whatever. Maybe some words were said, and now you're in a situation where you're like, man, how are we ever going to get that relationship back to where it was? Let's talk about knowing your values, because your values are those things that are close to you. Like for me, it's faith, family, okay, and then also making sure that, like, for the values of the show, faith, family, fashion, and personal growth. Those things are important to me. Those are my values. So anything that encompasses those things, those are important to me. So what are your values? What are your values? Like, a value for me is making sure I keep my Lord and Savior first, Jesus Christ. Secondly, my personal self. Third is my wife. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not going to be able to have a good relationship with the Lord and with my wife. So those are values. When you have those family values, the things like for family is making sure I'm home by 7 p.m. to eat dinner with blah, 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 blah. Or making sure I don't work on Saturdays, or make sure I have Sundays open. It could be like a personal conviction or a value that you believe in. When you have those values, you can go into situations with family and know how to navigate them. So let's say your value is, I never want to scream and yell with my family. But maybe another family member doesn't share the same values you do. So they're let's just use it. They're in a Thanksgiving situation. Everybody knows about one of those Thanksgiving or Christmas or birthday situations where maybe something pops off and they're screaming, you're screaming. But you remember your value is, I don't want to cuss at my significant other. I don't want to cuss at my family member. I don't want to cuss at them. That's one of your values. You don't want to do that. So you recognize in the moment, I don't want to do this, and you pull back. And other people might see it as weak, but for you, it's actually strength, because your values protects you. They're like your fence that keep you from going outside your gates and attacking and doing something that may cause you harm. So when you know who you are, your values, you can go into situations and know what it looks like to win. Instead of cussing them out like they're cussing you out, you're able to pull back. I do not want to yell at them. One of them, Lori and I's values, is we don't yell at each other. We don't yell at each other. So what we'll do, if we're finding we're getting stuff a little too hot, we'll be like, our value is, let's just pray. Take a minute. I'm going to pray. You'll pray. You tell God exactly what you're thinking, and we'll be open and honest. We're transparent. And then we'll ask the Holy Spirit to come right in the middle. See, that's something we've learned to give us a fence, a hedge around us. So when we're in those moments, like Mike Tyson says, everybody thinks they have a plan until they get punched in the mouth. What's your plan when situations don't go the way you think they should? When the family dynamics are they're a bunch of friction, how are you going to handle that? So one thing that's also important is knowing who you are. The next thing is effective communication. Lori and I had to literally go sit with a counselor so we can learn about each other, so that we can effectively communicate with each other. And now I believe that after we have done that, we've had the 2 best years of our marriage. Let's clap for that. 2 best years of our marriage. Why? Because we now have a better idea of how to effectively communicate with each other. And we know who we are. And we're still growing into that. So now we're able to know who we are and know our values. And then we're able to effectively communicate. What effective communication may look like this for you. And then you tell me also in the comments, put some thumbs up emojis if you're liking what we're talking about tonight. Tell me what effective communication looks like for you. If you had to give it in 3 things of what effective communication looks like for you, tell me that. And I'm going to give you 3 things. that I personally believe in. Okay, first thing is listening to the person. Second thing is hearing the person out. That's two different things. And the last thing is responding. It's two parts listening, one part responding. Two part listening, one part responding. So listening to the person, hearing the words that are coming out their mouth. Chris Tucker. Hearing the words that are coming out of their mouth. Second part is realizing, listening how they're saying it. They may be, you never, and they may be coming at you, or they may be passive aggressive. We ask them how they're doing. How you doing? Good. And you know they always answer you in full sentence. I'm doing so good. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay. So first, I listen. Second, hear them out. What are they actually saying? Not what their words are saying. What are they actually saying with their body language? They're not good because their body language is bad. They're like, I'm good. And they're defensive. And you're like, you don't seem good. And then last thing is responding. So a way you could respond to a challenging situation is, and now this is what I've been learning. My wife knows this, so she'll be like, don't use that stuff on me. Because I actually learned it from a hostage negotiating class, a book that I've been reading. So what you ask is, it seems like you're really upset. Yeah, I'm really upset. You didn't do da 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 da. Oh, okay. What I'm hearing is you're upset that I did take out the trash. Yeah, you never take out the trash. You were supposed to da 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 da. Hear what they're saying. Listen, words. Hear what they're saying. What are their body language telling you? How are they responding? Are they fight or flight, tense, whatever? Lastly, respond. So you're upset that I didn't take out the trash, and it's making you it made you feel like I didn't value you. Yeah, you know how much that means to me. You see, effective communication disarmed the person to allow them to be able to express what they're actually what they want to say. And then because you were hearing them out, you're actually looking at their body language, and they were defensive and they were coming at you because they felt like you didn't value them or respect them or whatever that thing is you'll be able to recognize in a moment. It allows you to be able to go, they're pretty pissed off. I've listened to them. I've heard them out. Now I'm responding in a way that is going to allow us to have a conversation that's actually going to be productive. Come on, in 2024, let's have productive conversations. Come on. So, we talked about effective communication. Okay, and then let's also talk about maintaining those connections. Let's talk about maintaining your connections with your family. I got the opportunity and the privilege to talk to my mom and dad today because I called them. Something that previously maybe I would have been like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I actually called because it's important. This year, make it important so that in the situations when you do have those clashing family dynamics, you're able to have some equity in the bank with them that allows you to be able to handle those situations and not respond the wrong way. That is not going to be conducive for effective communication. So, excited for that. Excited for your 2024. And I also want to talk to you about my next book, which is going to help you navigate these moments when you feel like, with the effective communication and the family dynamics are going on, and even at work where it's going on. This right here is how to think and grow big in small places. It's your opportunity. It's your opportunity to learn how to manage these seasons that you'll go through, these moments that you'll go through, these failure moments that you'll go through, and be able to turn them into an opportunity for you to grow bigger. Think and Grow Big is out on Amazon right now. You will love it, and this will also help you ask those questions that are necessary for you to be at your personal best. So, let's talk about navigating fear. I know you guys are probably perfect and you have no fear. You are the Superman of your own personal life. But fear is something that drives us, and it's something that can hold us back. Isn't it weird that fear can do both? It can drive you and hold you back. It can make you go forward and pull back at the same time. You see, let's talk about overcoming fear and building resilience. We talked about failure previously, and failure is a moment. We talked about that. Remember that? And fear is something that tries to make you convey that moment over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that's why we have a fear of failure. Failure is one thing, one moment. And then when it joins with our fear, and we keep replaying it and operating out of that, we create a fear of failure. When actually failure is nothing to be feared. It happens every day to us. You try to crack an egg, you get some shell in there. You didn't succeed in that. You got eggshell in your bowl when you were trying to not. You failed. That doesn't mean you go, oh my gosh, it's over. But if the next time you're so scared, oh my gosh, if I get this eggshell into this bowl where I have my egg cracked, it'll be over for me. And we laugh, and that might be like, oh, that's really dramatic. But how many times in our own personal life are we afraid of a fear because of a failure? And let's talk about how to overcome that. Let's talk about how do we overcome that fear of failure. I think we first have to do is we have to address it. Come on, Unboxed community. Tell me if what you think about addressing your fear. Do you think that's the first thing you should do? Is that the first thing you should do when you're dealing with fear of failure? Should you address it? Let's talk about addressing the things that are holding us back. Because I believe if until you address it, not undress it. Wow. Until you address it, it's going to be hard to deal with it. What do you need to address this year? Tell me, Unboxed community, what is something that you want to address this year? I've had a couple things that I wanted to address. So I got coaches. I'm coaching you, and I have coaches down to the simple thing. Somebody's working with me on my social media. Somebody's working with me on my own personal spiritual journey. Somebody's working with me on my marriage. I have a marriage counselor. Somebody's working on a venture that Lori and I want to venture into. We have coaches help us address the real issue. People in our life that can say, you should probably do it this way. And that's helping us address the fear of failure. And I want to give you a technique that is going to help you be resilient when failure hits. Because it will. Ask the question, what can I learn from this? And then apply what you can learn from it. If you didn't know, prior to this podcast being recorded as I'm doing right now, I tried to record this 3 other times. And literally it would go live with no volume. People were literally calling me I had one of my friends, shout out Evan. He called me and was like, hey, pretty sure your podcast is going good, but I can't hear you. The volume's out. That happened not once, not twice, but 3 times. And before I would have been like, maybe I'm just not supposed to go live tonight. But no, Resilience. Somebody needs to hear what is going to be said from the Unboxed community tonight. This is going to change somebody's life. Resilience. See what I could learn from the situation. What I learned is I have a small button on my new computer that will mute my mic completely. In any sense, it won't let me do anything until I click it. That's it. That was one little thing I learned. But now I know. I learned from that failure. What are you learning from your failures? And how are you building resilience in that moment? Because what we're building, our resilience, gives us that ability to walk by faith. Because we've been through the situation before. So now when I get into another situation, if somebody messages me, hey, I don't hear your volume, I knew exactly what to look for. Because I've built resilience. Just like how your faith, especially in your marriage and your friendships and the roles or whatever your leadership you play in your life, it builds on top of failure sometimes. It's so easy to think that we only grow in success. But what if we grow in failure too? What failure is growing you the most right now? I want to give you this live story, and I want to give you a practical tip that's going to help you grow your faith even in failure. And this is for guys out there. Guys, it can be difficult trying to have all the answers sometimes, especially when the world tells you have to. And I want to talk about this. One practical way you can continually grow your faith is by being consistent. Being consistent with what, like reading your word, reading the word of God, the Bible. If you have no idea what I mean when I say the Bible, no problem. Just go ahead and reach out to me on social media, and I'd love to talk with you more about it. No judgment here. So, what I do every day before I get up, or when I get up, first thing I do is I open my Bible app on my phone. I'm laying in the bed, I'm reading some scripture. What I'm doing right now personally is I'm reading through the Bible from Genesis, the beginning of the Bible, the first chapters, all the way to the end. I read one chapter a day. Some days it's two, but mostly it's just one chapter a day. And then I start my day. And throughout the day, I'm asking God, speak to me. Speak to me. Well, Anthony, how does he speak to you? It's almost like if you had a walkie-talkie and no one else could hear it. Sometimes you'll hear stuff like, hey, go the other direction. Don't when you're driving. Turn left instead of going right. That doesn't make sense, but I'll do it. And what you didn't know is 10 miles down the road, there was an accident that you were going to drive into. Or, hey, the way you responded to your wife, she's really upset about it. You need to call her back. Okay, I'll do it. And you call her and you get the, how you doing? Good. Then you have to use effective communication. So, practical ways to deepen your spiritual walk with God start with simple resilience of showing up every day. Like I said, opening up the Bible app every morning, reading one chapter a day. If you can't do one chapter, that's cool. No judgment here. Do one verse and add to it. Next day, do 2 verses. Next day, do 3. Next day, do 4. Next day, do 5. And then start back over with 1 as the weekends. You're building resilience by showing up consistently. Man, I love the Unboxed community, and thank you for everybody that's taking the time to join and be a part of what we're doing here to really help people find and unbox faith, family, fashion, and personal growth. This is a place for you to feel safe and enjoy And let's deal with the real questions of life, how to walk by faith, how to trust God, how to do things when you don't even feel like you have the answers. This is the place to answer that. This is the place to be for that. So today we talked about unboxing leadership, faith, and family struggles. Talked about effective communication and how to be resilient in your faith by just going day by day. This is what it's about. Not being perfect, not having it all together, but realizing that this life that we get to do together is better when we do it together and we unbox it together. So Unboxed community, share this with a friend. Once it goes live on social media, you already know what to do. Share it, like it, comment on it. Let's talk about it. Let's be a part of something special. And let's help other people unbox faith, family, fashion, and personal growth. I'll see you next time. We'll have my beautiful wife on and maybe even another guest. You never know. For episode 2 of Unboxed, Life Unboxed.